All right, let's talk about the 6 graphs that I expect you to know. Just by looking at the equation, you should be able to picture the graph because we are going to manipulate these in the next section. The first one's called the identity function. I don't care if you remember the name or not. This is the graph of y equals x. So I expect you to know what it looks like. You do need to know that domain goes from negative infinity to positive infinity, and that the range will also cover all the y's. So it'd be negative infinity to positive infinity. The next graph I expect you to know is one they call the squaring function. All I want you to know is when it's y equals x squared, or f of x equals x squared, same thing, that you have a parabola, and the parabola would look like this. You need to know that. Now the domain on this, it will eventually cover all the x's, so domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. The range, though, is from 0 to y. It only covers zeros, the smallest one. So I want you to be able to picture that graph every time you see y equals x squared. The next one you need to know is the cube one, x cubed graph. Okay, the x cubed graph looks like this. We don't use that one as often, but we do sometimes. The range of that, it's going to cover all the x's, all the y's, so it's negative infinity to positive infinity. The next one, we use this one a lot. Y equals square root of x. You do need to know that the square root one starts here at 0 and goes out that direction. Okay. Domain is 0 to infinity, and range 0 to infinity. It covers the x's from 0 to infinity and range. You also need to know the cube root of x graph. This one is not as common. It does look like this. And just like the cube graph, the domain and range are negative infinity to positive infinity. And the last one is the absolute value graph. Very common. We will do a lot with this one on the test. The absolute value graph is a V. So it looks like the parabola, except it's a V. It comes down to a point. You need to be able to picture that and graph it every time I say y equals absolute value of x. Domain does cover everything, negative infinity to positive infinity, and the range covers 0 to infinity. So those are the 6 graphs that you need to have memorized and be able to manipulate in the next section.